Trump's plan would reduce tax rates for everybody. His plan would provide larger tax cuts for the very highest income individuals in American society. The top 0.1% of American taxpayers would see a $1.1 million tax cut. The tax cuts as a share of income for lower income households would be much smaller. Independent scores, independent researchers have looked at his plan, and the estimates are that it would add $7.2 trillion to the nation's debt over the course of the next 10 years. So unlike Clinton's plan, which would produce a surplus on the tax side, Trump's plan would be an enormous revenue loser. He also has the plan of reducing regulation, reducing tax burdens through the IRS. He has at one point advocated eliminating the EPA, eliminating the U.S. Department of Education. He's backpedaled a bit from those very, very strong views. His philosophy is to lower tax rates, reduce government regulation, and in his mind that will unleash economic growth. Trump has become a very outspoken critic of free trade agreements. Notably, he has argued for 35% tariffs against products imported from Mexico, 45% tariffs on products imported from China. A tariff is a tax, so he would dramatically increase the price to American consumers of goods that we import from Mexico and from China. The concern on the part of economists is that that would spark a trade war. That if we were to raise tariffs to that magnitude, what we would find is retaliatory tariffs imposed on American exports to other countries. And as a consequence of that, we would all face much higher prices, trade would slow if not grind to a halt, and there are some, including Moody's, which is a national economic forecasting firm, and the Peterson Institute, both of which suggest that those plans could create a very serious global economic downturn and recession. His plan would lead to a very significant $7.2 trillion increase in the deficit, the tax plan alone. He's not proposing much on the spending side, so his overall tax/spending plan would still be a deficit creator, and those deficits would mount over time by virtue of having lower tax rates for all American taxpayers, and the deficit would simply accumulate and accumulate and accumulate over time. He was very critical of the federal government effectively being the lender to college students and then profiting through that process. But he has not come up with an alternative. If we were to privatize, fully privatize, which in many ways the system is already privatized, you would find that the private sector would want to make a profit on making loans. That's what the private sector does. So he's been very critical of existing policy, but he's not put forth a very clear, articulate alternative.